houses built around here in recent years. During the global economic boom that we were all going through Ireland, we were riding that wave pretty high, and for a few years there we were building houses like there was no tomorrow. We built lots of big new houses around the country for a while there. We kind of lost the run of ourselves. Big houses too, like an example here on your right hand side. Big, huge, gaudy, ugly, tacky houses, you know, in my own opinion. I find it strange, when I was growing up we had big families and small houses, and now we've got big houses and small families. I don't quite get the logic, but that's how it's gone. So you will see a lot of brand new houses, sometimes up for sale, or unfinished, or unbuilt, unsellable. We'll go into a few problems in a moment. But the new houses aside, for a long while the population around here has been quite low in comparison. Wasn't always the case. In the 1800s, early to mid 1800s, a lot of people lived around here. Lots and lots of people. And they didn't live in the towns and the cities and the villages, they lived in the countryside, on small farms, lots of them. In the 1840s, Ireland had a population of 8 million people. Even today we're only on around 6. 1840s, we're on 8 million people. And they all lived in the countryside. And they had big families, good Irish Catholic families that are breeding like rabbits, pumping out 12 kids a week like. And every generation, they used to subdivide their land amongst several of their children. So every generation, farm sizes got smaller. Now this is important because these people weren't living in towns and shopping in Walmarts and Tesco's. These people were living in the countryside, growing their own food on small farms that they wouldn't even have owned. They'd have rented bits of land off of landlords, wealthy landlords, growing their own food. And every generation there was more and more people, and farm sizes got smaller and smaller. This was a problem. Big families, small farms. You were very limited in what you could grow. They had to grow something that would feed them. And there's one thing that would do that for them. Your humble potato. God loved potatoes. One small field with potatoes growing on it and you get lots and lots of food. And Irish people in the early mid-1800s were living on spuds like you would not believe. They had them in the morning, had them in the afternoon, had them in the evening. For some of the poorest people, it was pretty much all they ate. And just to impress it upon you, a man of my age, height and size would have been eating around 5 kilograms of spuds every single day. That's a fact. That's a bucket of spuds, if you don't know what a kilo is. 5 kilos, that is a bucket of potatoes every day. Certainly a very boring diet, a very bland and repetitive diet. However, your humble potato is actually quite nutritious. And if you eat a bucket of them every single day, you're actually alright. Very boring diet, but you'd survive on that, and you'd be quite healthy. These people were not suffering from lack of nutrition or anything, they were quite alright. But the one weak point was their over-reliance upon a single food source. That was a problem. Because in 1845, the weather was like this every day. This is a perfect example of such a day. You get a lot of days like this in Ireland. It's not cold, it's quite mild. Don't mistake cloud and rain for cold temperatures. It's quite mild, but very damp. You get like this for a few days in Ireland and it clears away again. But in 1845 it was like this a lot. The whole summer was like this almost. It was the perfect conditions for blight. Now blight is a fungus infection. Fungus loves moist, warm conditions. And in 1845 this fungus infection called blight came in and started rotting the potatoes. The following year in 1846 it was even worse. There was a total crop failure. And if you have hundreds of thousands of families living on nothing but potatoes, and all of a sudden there's no spuds to eat,